we are kind of in such polarized times. And right now, the federal courts are being pulled in a very big way into adjudicating, if you will, the Trump administration policies. And I'm just curious, we're also in kind of an era of very low trust in institutions. And I'm wondering what's sort of on your mind from your perspective as you watch this play out and are thinking about the courts as the arbiters and the need to have widespread buy-in and trust on the part of the American populace, but also the sort of danger that courts may lose that. And sort of, whether it's the Supreme Court, district, federal district courts that are making decisions, how do you think the public should be thinking about this?
Yeah, this is a topic very much on my mind, and not just very recently. I think we've been seeing trends for several years about waning public trust and confidence in all institutions of government, including the courts. And a role I play, one of the extrajudicial things I'm involved in is I co-chair a committee for the National Association of Women Judges on judicial independence, and we really track trends and themes, and look at ways we can address, public understanding of what courts do. So I think it's not a brand new issue. Yeah. We've seen some recent examples where there's been just direct pushback, against a judicial ruling. And, I have grave concern that if our democracy is a fragile thing, and in every branch of government, the system works when people are willing to use the system to work. So if we don't want to allow each branch to carry out its constitutional responsibility, then I don't know where we turn. So I feel like part of the role of a judge is to be something of an ambassador for what we do, understanding that the role of courts in our frame of government is to be an equalizer, right? It's the place where everybody can bring a dispute, everybody is equal before the law, and, you're entitled to an arbiter of that dispute who doesn't have a stake in the outcome. And that's, the real importance of the neutrality. But it's also true that we carry out social functions around crime and punishment. And I think we have to acknowledge that over the course of time, that the impact of that hasn't fallen equally on all communities. And, there are folks on either side of the political spectrum who've raised questions about the neutrality of courts. So I think as we address the conversation, we have to really look internally and say, how can we have a real conversation that acknowledges that the system hasn't always, and still to this day doesn't work perfectly, but that adherence to the rule of law is still, the best thing we have. What's that saying about, democracy is messy, it's a terrible form of government, or it's the worst form of government except for every other form of government. And I think as judges, we need to be out in community talking with folks about what their concerns are and helping and listening and better explaining why we do things the way we do things.
You can check out the rest of the show by clicking on the link below or by watching Inside Olympia Thursday evenings at 7 and 10.